All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're now going to start a session called Data Readiness for the AI Revolution. I've got a couple of experts that we'll introduce in just a moment. And we're featuring a report, from the Harvard Business Review that we co-sponsor with Microsoft. We're going to recap that in terms of where people feel they're at in terms of the AI revolution, and then we'll get some advice from and we'll have our experts react to that as we go through. But then, most importantly, we'll get some actionable insights and thoughts from them on how to make yourself ready. So let's get started, and we will start with an introduction. So we have on the call here Florin Rotar from Avanade and Emerson Gatlachian from Microsoft. So Florin, can you introduce yourself for our audience?
I can indeed. Hello, everybody. My name is Florin. I'm the Chief AI Officer for Avanade, Avanade being the joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. And my job is to change the way we work and operate with AI and to help our clients avoid the same mistakes that I've been doing for the last few years working on generative AI.
Excellent, thanks. So Florin, I think, is being a little humble. He spends a lot of time working with very senior people, helping guide them on their journey. So hopefully this will be helpful for everyone here. Emerson, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive in.
Thanks, Martin. Hi, everyone. My name is Emerson Gatlachian, Chief Data and Analytics Officer in the Americas. I'm from Microsoft Global Black Belt Practice. And happy to be here. Would love to have the discussion and also share some of the learnings. My role has been working with a lot of the CIOs, CDOs, and CXO level, where we discuss strategy and all the way to how do we make it real, how do we implement. So looking forward to this discussion.
Excellent. And I think this is the first time we've co-presented with you, Emerson. But we're looking forward to a lot more now that you're in the role that you're in Microsoft. Both of you, I think, bring an awful lot to the table. So let's dive in. The Harvard Business Report, Data Readiness for AI Revolution, it's a report, a survey really, that we co-sponsored with Microsoft a couple of months ago. I think it was when it was published. You can find it on the Profisee website, or someone may put it in the chat as we're talking here. So that's free for everybody. What we're going to do here is just summarize a little bit of some of the findings in it as a kind of a baseline. So you can see here that the people that we surveyed, it was an international audience, medium to large size companies from across different levels of seniority, mostly more senior roles, but across industries and functions. So hopefully pretty representative of the people who are here on the in the Data Hero Summit, of our audience, in other words, right now. So hopefully you'll find this on point, and maybe you won't, but that'll be the interesting part of it. So the first question that we asked, it's kind of a no-doubt question, at least from my perspective, is two parts. Do you expect AI to be a major disruptor in your organization's industry within the next 3 years? 63% said yes. And where does the adoption of AI fall in terms of your strategic priorities? 34% say it's a top priority. So it's kind of like the baseline on a polygraph here. I think we're just checking that our audience is breathing. I assume, Emerson and Florin, this is the kind of thing that you see in your daily work, that people are seeing it as a top priority. Let me ask Florin first, so you don't step on each other.
Yeah, I think we do. The maturity and the awareness is evolving, though. So in my experience, like the absolute top business leadership is sometimes overestimating the short-term impact, the immediate impact, but also dramatically underestimating the impact it will have to their business in the 2-3 years ahead. So I think as you're taking a 3-year perspective on this one, I think you're pretty much spot on. Certainly, it resonates with me.
Emerson, any observations? I assume this is the audience you're speaking to as well, that they're...
Yeah, no, I'm interested to know more about the no, because the clients that I work with basically see the value of AI. And so I would like to really learn from the organizations who would like to say no. But in terms of the yes, absolutely, it resonates well on my regarding my engagement with my clients. And they're looking for efficiencies. They're looking for how fast we can get to these insights, for example, how fast we can get into from unstructured data all the way to insights, because that's where that efficiency and cost savings will be. So surprise on the no, the don't know. I think there are still folks who are learning, but yeah, absolutely interesting.
All right, so we're kind of all on the same page there, I think. So when we dig into it, it starts to get a little bit more insightful, I think. So here's the first part. What benefits does your organization most hope to realize from adopting AI? Interesting to me that the top two are efficiency aid for employees, and then the second one highlighted here is improved analytics insights. So I think for me personally, I see lots of people already using AI for efficiency, personal productivity kind of stuff, summarizing meetings and notes, and answering questions via Google and things like that, or I should say on in Microsoft's Copilot, etc. The interesting but improved analytics insights, I think, is what people are trying to get to, and it takes a little bit longer to get there. It's more certainly our wheelhouse in terms of Profisee. So let's start with you, Emerson. What observations do you have around any of the actual adoption of AI, generative AI?
This definitely aligns from the business perspective. Efficiency and cost savings will be the top two that I've been seeing. Cost savings as to how do we kind of get to the data we need? How do we kind of use technology to actually bring us most insights, which is on the second one. So they are all related to me. Efficiency aid for employees, absolutely. One very interesting approach, one of the CIO that I work with, he basically said that if you ask the employees, do you want a free lunch every month, or do you want a co-pilot to help you with your work, which one would you choose? And the answer was co-pilot. So it shows that it brings value. It makes their lives easier. They are more productive. They are working more on things that they want to do, less on the tedious work, for example. So those are the perspectives that I can share.
All right. So there's a bumper sticker right there. Co-pilot better than a free lunch. I think we'll go with that.
That's how much cost it is to get that efficiency. It's equate to a free lunch per month.
Any observations from you, Florin, on this one?
Yeah, I have a slightly adjacent perspective here, not on the free lunch and Copilot. I've been using it myself for actually almost 3 years now, and it's really good. I really like, especially the Teams meeting summarization part. But the bit where I see a slightly different pattern evolving in the market is that a lot of the early initiatives over the last years have indeed been focused on cost optimization and efficiencies and productivity. I'm starting to see the leaders in the AI space go to the next level and actually focus on using AI as a competitive advantage to drive revenue growth and profitability growth as well. So I think we're starting to move from the first generation of AI usage, which is efficiency, productivity, cost optimization driven, to this becoming a strategic imperative for boards and for CEOs, and a competitive differentiation. And that is just started to happen. So I'm not that surprised that, the survey doesn't quite reflect that direction in the marketplace.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. All right, so next one then, we'll keep, too far. We'll keep moving here so that we can get through this in the correct time. But to what extent do you feel your organization is ready to successfully adopt AI? So this is the other parts where aspirational, where do you think it's going? But this is now, where do you think you are? 10% think they're completely ready. 37% moderately, 35% a little, and 18% not at all. So this is where we're seeing people, I think, realizing, there's something missing here. And rather than have you react to that, let me jump to the next part, and then you can react to both together. Whoops, come on. These are some of the things that in the data area that that the respondents were feeling were a problem. So lack of necessary skills, data issues, which I highlighted because that's really where Profisee plays, lack of clear roadmap, strategy, et cetera. So this is, it's interesting to me that skills and data are the two biggest barriers that are being talked about. What's not being highlighted as a problem is leadership or budget, or they are, but they're lower down on the list. So I think it's more a question of kind of knowing how to get started and having the right tools in place. So Florin, why don't you tell us if you have any observations or if this correlates with your the people you're speaking to?
Very much does. I think organizations are starting to realize that they do need a mature, stable data and data platform in place to be able to scale AI usage in a cost-efficient manner, and to do that reliably and in a way which is durable. So I'm not surprised that being high up on the agenda. And then I'm not surprised to see a lot of topics which I would summarize as organizational readiness being up there on the agenda, and that includes skills. It includes having the right governance and operating model to do this in an efficient way. It includes strategic thinking around how you actually extract quantifiable and meaningful value as well. So those are all emerging capabilities that a lot of organizations I work with are trying to develop. So yeah, this is a good summary.
Emerson, any thoughts from your perspective?
Absolutely, data issues is the prominent one for my clients. And so silo, duplicated governance is a big topic for sure. The lack of skills, I hear less of that, because skills you can train, you can hire more people, but the data issues is much bigger to tackle, if you will.
Yeah, and it's a longer lead time until you can solve it. Even if you start today, it's probably one of the longest poles in the tent, I would say. I agree with that for sure. All right. Oops, I am just messing up all over here.
I would say, though, actually, I slightly disagree with that. So I think, getting a robust data platform in place is easier to do today than it was just a few years ago. It is much easier to prove the business case, the value. The technology is more mature. We know as an industry better how to handle issues like, master data management, for example, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Organizational readiness is tricky, though, because people can only change so fast. And yes, you can hire people, you can train people, but to evolve a culture which truly is AI first, if I'm allowed to use that word, where people feel that, AI is a capability and not a threat, an opportunity, not a risk. That takes longer in a lot of organizations. Technology moves faster than people can sometimes. So I would not underestimate.
Fair enough. I guess the way I would kind of rationalize what I just said with what you said, because I agree with you, is you can pick an MDM platform, you can pick Fabric or something like that as your data platform. Adopting that across all of your data estate may take some time. Running a POC and getting some of your data estate squared away and ready for AI can be a very fast exercise. So it's getting one piece of it and then another piece and another would be kind of how I would think about it. Emerson, did you have I think you were looking to say something there.
Oh, absolutely. Just to clarify, if you go back to that slide one bit, so the data issues that I'm hearing from our clients, just to kind of give more context, is an organization has a lot of data. They have ERP, they have historian environments, they have CRMs, they have PDF files, what have you. So that's where that data issue is, where it becomes very difficult. So how do you kind of do AI when they're siloed in these platforms, where you don't have the proper security and governance? Should I feed this data from ERP, from PDF, from what have you, to these AI models, right? And so that's the biggest problem, because they are very siloed. We have clients who still have mainframes, for example. And so that is the biggest issue, and how you can get this data into AI. When it comes to the skills and expertise, yes, absolutely agree. Culture is probably the biggest challenge from the CXOs that I work with. From a skills of using AI or ML, that is more of like easier to address in what I've seen, and these are just from my clients. Yeah.
Great observations. I agree with all of that. All right, so specifically within the data challenges, so this is trying to take that data challenge thing and break it down to the next level. Difficulty integrating diverse data sources. So what specific challenges? Difficulty integrating direct data sources, diverse data sources, poor data quality, standardized, reliable, complete information, insufficient governance, which one of you mentioned just a moment ago, are the top issues, all of which are, I think, in our joint wheelhouse. So Emerson, what do you think around here? I'm guessing you see a lot of these things in your daily conversations.
Yeah, that's exactly what I kind of mentioned just a bit before this.
Yeah.
Where that difficulty of integrating from platforms, poor data quality and governance is there. Exactly, those are the top three that I'm seeing from the engagement that I have.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Florin? I think we probably just did cover this a moment ago. Uh-oh. Is Florin frozen?
So I would perhaps add I'll perhaps add the complexity of managing both structured and unstructured data into the equation. That requires a new set of skills, or additional set of skills and experiences in a lot of organizations, who are perhaps more used to the structured data approach. But I think these are good challenges to be aware of, for sure.
Excellent. All right. Oops. So second to last slide here, and then we'll our Harvard Business Review slide. Then we'll pivot to guidance from you folks. So firms need to. So what data management practices do you need to improve in order to be more successful? So these are all marked fairly high. The top is around governance, standards, policies, and frameworks. Then managing the entire data lifecycle, establishing consistent data, versions of the data, high quality, trustworthy and high quality data, which by the way, that's what I see all the time. Scalable data infrastructure, ensuring enterprise data is accessible in a single repository. So all of these are 50%, close to 50% or greater, and then lineage as well. Any observations, Florin, first?
I think a key one is helping executive leaders in an organization to understand what data management, governance, quality actually means, and how important it is. So I think we as an industry have a unique opportunity in time now that CEOs and boards are really quite excited about AI and actually understand the strategic value of an organization, to help justify and inform and guide leaders who might be not quite as tech savvy, to understand why this is important and why you need, frankly, a good foundation to build the house. And sometimes, it's easy to rush and focus on the color of the walls and the nice shiny countertops in a house, but if you don't have the foundation in place, the house will be pretty rocky and kind of expensive to maintain as well.
So
my guidance is don't forget the anchoring how important this is and explaining and educating this to the top leadership.
Exactly. Emerson, your thoughts?
I think there's probably a couple I would mention added to this. The culture aspect and the people aspect of governance is really very important right now. Like the modern practices for governance, who owns the data, stewardship and all that. I think that's one gap that I'm seeing. Governance policies, standards, frameworks, those are kind of like traditional, kind of like, yes, we need to do it. But for modern AI and practices, that culture and people aspect is also critical.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so here's the summary of all of this. If I can just, there we go. So if you kind of look, summarizing a few of the slides that went before, looking at things that are very or moderately important, high quality, which is the light blue, high quality standardized data that is accurate, standardized, and non-duplicated. 96% say that's important, very or moderately important. Clear data governance policies, 94% say that's very or moderately important. And 84% say having all relevant data available in one place, regardless of source, is very or moderately important. And so then let's look at readiness, which is the dark blue, very or moderately ready. On the first one, 58%. On the second one, 60%. On the third one, 48%, which I characterize as the MDM gap, which is getting your data, deduped and accurate and standardized. The governance gap is having clear governance policies that can then be enforced. And then the analytics platform gap, and if you're Emerson from Microsoft, you might think of this as Fabric gap, having all your data available in one place, regardless of source. And all of these are viewed as very highly important, and nobody or hardly anybody thinks that they're really ready for it. So Emerson, what do you, how do you see this or interpret the information?
I respect the data. The survey speaks for itself, but I feel like in my conversations with my clients, it's like governance. I feel like there was a bigger gap than there's about 34%. I feel like there's more, but like I said, I respect the survey. It's just maybe the type of engagements that I have has bigger in MDM, governance, and even the platform.
So you agree with the gaps, but you think the gaps are bigger than stated here?
Yeah, and that's just my.
I think that's a reasonable observation. Florin, how do you feel about this summary here?
Well, this is an accurate representation of what I see. It varies by industry and company size. So I think larger organizations perhaps have bigger challenges around the governance because of their inherent organizational complexity. Perhaps what I would say is upper mid-market organizations are perhaps more struggling with the analytics and the MDM gap and the technology dimension, and governance is easier. So, but on average, I would say this is correct.
All right. So hopefully this is resonates with our audience here, and they feel that these are the things that are important, and we're here to help today and every day with helping fill these gaps, particularly in combination with partners like Avanade and now Microsoft. So let's pivot now to talk a little bit about what we can do about it. I'm going to start with this slide here. Florin prepared for us. Why don't you talk through, Florin, how you feel people can be more, can drive for organizational readiness to tackle all the things that we've just been talking about?
Yeah, what I would say is I would perhaps focus on the people dimension more than I feel a lot of organizations do today. And this might sound strange coming from an ex-CTO, but in my role as leading the charge with AI for Avanade, I'm focusing 80% of my time on people aspects, on organizational readiness aspects rather than the technology aspects. And I think a lot of organizations today are looking for value, quantifiable, irrefutable, true business value. rather than anecdotal evidence. And in my experience, that requires you to have people with you at scale on this journey. And I think when you have a mindset of truly thinking about how you empower your people to become the best versions of themselves, to thrive in their professional journey and maybe their personal journey, to do things they might not have imagined they would be able to do before, then you get this trust that AI is done with them, not to them. And it's something good, which is not just this nebulous, fear that, the average employee might have after reading the media that, AI is out there to get your job, or a nefarious way for management to make you work harder in the spirit of productivity. I'm joking a little bit here, but the point I'm trying to make is, truly focus on how you get everybody in your organization, not just the IT staff, but literally everybody, to believe in IT as an enabler, because that's when you would get trust at scale, and when you get trust at scale, you get adoption at scale, and when you get adoption at scale, you get true, genuine, measurable value. So I would really like to emphasize the people dimension.
I completely agree with that. Do you have any practical like exercises or strategies, or if you're a chief data officer or someone like that, and you accept this idea that the people need to come with you, how would you actually engage the people? What practical things would you do for that?
So a very tangible and quite simple first step, which we've taken ourselves, is to run a school of AI company-wide. So we've established a university, if I can call it that, for all of our 60,000 people, to help them to understand the power and the limitations with AI, their responsibility, to understand best practices around responsible AI usage, to help them get more efficient and effective around using AI, and, for example, the art of prompting. So wide spanning education to all of your people, I feel that is really, really important. And to be honest, we've had over 90% of our 60,000 people who have elected to go through the School of AI, and the thousands upon thousands of feedback we've gotten just over the, in the first few days was overwhelming, like with people saying, this is the best thing this company has done in the last 25 years. Thank you so much for investing in me, in my skills, in my readiness, in my professional development, in my personal development. So yeah, a School of AI would be very high up on the agenda. And then the last point I would make here on this would be the responsible AI usage. So I think it is so fundamentally important across all layers of an organization, from board and C-suite leadership to the technology leadership who's organizing and running the programs and the projects around data and AI, to the data practitioners and the technology experts, to really have responsible AI embedded in the way they think about this. And responsible AI is not a esoteric theoretical exercise. It is principles and North Star, but it also includes tooling, processes, skills, and it is still a bit of an art and a science. And I would go as far as saying, frankly, please do not do any generative AI strategic initiatives if you do not have a responsible AI mindset. And it's not as difficult today as it was 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, or a year ago, for that matter. there is good tooling, there is know-how in how to do it right around processes, there's training available, but it is very, very important and a must-do, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Some good takeaways there. I assume that the things you just mentioned, AI Academy and some of the responsible AI stuff, those would be advisory services or conversations that our audience could engage Avanade for?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'm personally very passionate about the people topic and organizational readiness and the responsible AI usage. I started on the journey myself with ethical AI 10 years ago, and I literally had to write the book on it because there wasn't anything out there. But there are loads of resources available, industry think tanks, companies that you can work with. I'd obviously love to support you from an Avanade perspective, but you've got choices now for sure.
Perfect. Thanks. Excellent. All right, let's move to Emerson and a different perspective. Coming at it from a different angle, I think, on your advice, Emerson, on how to become more AI ready.
Absolutely. And I would like to echo what Florin mentioned about the strategic, the culture, the people, responsible AI. Absolutely. So what I would like to share here is if you are going to build your analytics, capabilities within the organization, you have Gen AI, you have ML, data engineering, BI, and all that stuff. Important thing to think about is the foundation, the data foundation that you have. You can see this references in NVIDIA and other kind of like recommendations from other organizations. Build that data foundation on top of the infrastructure, maybe your own infrastructure or other cloud infrastructure. But the importance is how do you kind of create these layers, right? So if you go to the next slide, Martin, please. The goal here is the bottom part is where the organizations are. There's multiple data. There's data across, for a global company, for example, in different parts of the world, right? Different regions, different time zones. There's data residency. There is multi-cloud aspect of that. There is platform silos. There's data warehousing. There's lakehouse. There's operational databases. All of that stuff. The goal is to kind of how you unify it. So if you can unify, absolutely. How do you kind of build that solution on top of that data? And from there, get to the data management. How do you kind of improve your data management using automation? How do you kind of create the framework, use MDM for your data quality? How do you kind of ingest data? Because a lot of our clients, for example, yes, they have operational data or operational environment, and they don't allow any analytics to reach to that. So how do you kind of get that data over to your ecosystem for analytics, creating automation for ingestion, for example, for creating mirrors or creating shortcuts, if you will, that will kind of create a lot of that easier ingestion or kind of like presenting that data to your analytics ecosystem. And then from there, focus on the consumption and how you can enable the different business units. Here, I just have a very generic business domains, if you will, but this doesn't represent the organization at all. This is just an example. But focus on the domains, the different business units that you want to kind of enable with any types of analytics. AI is a hot topic, but a lot of our clients are saying that we need to kind of even improve our dashboards and reporting before we can get into AI, for example. And then from there, all of this should be kind of like, covered with proper data governance, security, and compliance. So this is kind of like a visualization of how you should think about layering your data foundation. There's a ton of details in this. This is like days and days of discussion if we want to go to the details, but just to kind of give you a mind map of this. This is what I shared with a lot of our clients, and this create a bit of a context to them on how they can execute against these different layers that we just discussed.
Perfect. Thank you. And by the way, this is the kind of thing that we spend a lot of time talking about in the other sessions today, spend a lot of time talking about in different words. So thank you very much to both of you for your time and especially for your expertise today. Florin and Emerson, this has been hopefully a very valuable session for all of our attendees. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Martin. Thanks, Emerson.
Thank you. Thank you, Florin. Thank you, Martin.